I like how I said you invented, and you're like, we engineered.
I'm a tanning guy, right? And I've been in the industry longer than I want to acknowledge. Red light therapy has its highest efficacy in treating pain, joint pain, ligament inflammation rather. So we treat everything from skin to joint.
Is that how you stay so young looking over there?
I'm old, man. I mean, I am old. I'm going to be...
Well, you show it very well. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Murfreesboro.com podcast. We appreciate you tuning in as always. We have a fun guest today because, I can say, actually, here's another one that's a first. This is the first episode we've ever done out of well over 100 we've done now, that this is the first time you and I met.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, right when you walked in the door.
True.
So,
yeah.
We've spoken on the phone and stuff, but that's pretty cool. So there's another first.
It's always nice to meet new people.
Yeah, and so I know like I said, we spoke on the phone, but the chance meeting kind of through some people here in town that own a tanning salon. And I apologize. This is Wayne Chevie, everybody. Introduce you over here. But you... First off, thank you. I know you don't live here.
No.
But you have work here.
No.
And you flew in today for this. Which is
I was able to arrange
cool.
some other stuff and stop in and see you. And the people at Sunrayz Tanning that are clients, are just the salt of the earth. I mean, they're just wonderful, wonderful people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Jamie and her family over there.
So,
I love them.
Yeah, I said, I'll make it happen.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, we really appreciate it. So
thank you.
You took a long flight for this, so thank you. But not only on top of that, I like how I said you invented, and you're like, we engineered. So something really cool in the tanning industry that's, this red light therapy stuff and everything you're doing. I mean, you created it, basically, right? The Spectrum 7, this thing right here?
Yeah, exactly. So the story is that I'm a tanning guy, right? And I've been in the industry longer than I want to acknowledge. I don't want to tell you how many decades, but it's many. Yeah. And a guy that worked for me for years had been working back with Sun Capsule, and we were selling Sun Capsules, which is what we manufacture and sell. And we got a phone call from another fellow that used to be a distributor of ours out in California. And he said to me, "You'll never believe who I spoke to today." And I said, "Who's that?" He said, "I spoke to so-and-so." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "I didn't know he was still around. I know business was still around." "Yes. And in fact, you know what he's doing?" I said, "What?" "Red light." I said, "Excuse me?" "Yeah. Red light therapy." And this was like 2 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that. So I went to the website and I looked at it, and this particular tanning system is very archaic, has not been sold in the indoor commercial business for many, 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 many years. Yeah. And he says, and he's selling it for over $60,000. And so this would be
each one?
Yeah, so this would be the equivalent of seeing like a Camry that's 12 years old, and they're selling it for $85,000.
That's
right?
Nice Camry. Okay.
Right, yeah, it's a heck of a. So I said, you got to be kidding me. So one thing led to another, and we started playing with the idea, well, wait a minute. We did something 12 years ago with a kind of a toe in the water with red light therapy, and we weren't big fans of it. We knew it was really not an effective system. It used a fluorescent lamp. And so the other fellow, Mike Kreisel, he kind of spearheaded developing a system that we planned on marketing principally to the fitness industry.
Okay.
Because red light therapy has its highest efficacy. People think of it in the tanning industry for skin rejuvenation, which it does do. But its true value is in treating pain, joint pain, ligament inflation, inflammation rather, and so forth. So we said, well, hey, let's come out with a new company. We came up with the name. It's Excel Red Light Therapy. And we'll develop this system. We'll market it to the fitness industry. So our first client, we had a prior experience with. They had 6 or 8 stores. They loved the idea. We put them in, and we saw it did very well. And in the fitness industry, they add these machines so that they can upcharge their membership.
Okay.
So Planet Fitness being the best example. They want everyone to have that black card, that extra $10 a month, right? So it was doing well. So then we said, well, let's do something for skin rejuvenation. And we stopped. And then one day, after many, many months of working with these engineers, he said, we could do 7 wavelengths and have a full body spectrum.
All right.
And I said, what is that? And he said, well, it will treat a wide range of modalities, and it will have both red light and near infrared. And it looks like it could be really something. Well, fast forward. All we sell is the 7-minute Spectrum 7, which you're looking at here. And our customers and clients come back and tell us that, and Jamie at Rayz has told me this, that people will come out and say, I don't know what it's doing, but I know it's doing something. Right? So that's kind of what makes it unique and special.
Gotcha.
So, but it was really Mike Kreisel who kind of spearheaded and did the engineering and spent 6 to 8 months of his life developing a system which is far and away better than anything on the market. And I say that as a person who has been very lucky in my career in sales.
I got you. Yeah.
I've never had to sell anything that I didn't already buy and own for my own business.
There you go.
So,
believe in your own product. There you go. That's awesome. Now, I got the chance to peek into one of those over at Jamie's place, and there's like 4,000 bulbs or something. Right. Like, how does that? I mean, so you're not traditional big long bulb.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. So the sun capsule, by design, is a vertical system. And the fellow that started the company and founded it and created the product, my ex-business partner, he kept producing more powerful systems. So as the systems became more powerful, they generated more ambient heat.
Okay.
So as a result, he came up with a system where he put aerated holes into the floor, a massive fan in the ceiling, and the air is drawn through the bottom of the machine, past the tanner, and out the top.
All right.
And sun capsules went down as fast as 7 minutes. That's it.
Yeah.
Super powerful.
Yeah.
Right? So as we got into this, we said, well, how are we going to, what's the delivery mechanism? And long and the short of it is, we did our wish list. We wanted it to do this, to do this, to do this, to do this, right? And we found that the engineers kept saying, yeah, this is good, but the heat, you got the heat. And we said, hey, we can handle the heat.
Yeah, I got
So
you.
we ended up using the sun capsule. So what we do is we take 5 individual panels. Each has 960 or 960, I believe.
Oh, good God.
Individual 3-watt diodes. 3 watts each.
Yeah.
So there's almost 5,000 individual diodes with reflective lenses.
Jeez Louise. Okay.
And we use a range of 4 different wavelengths of red, 3 different wavelengths of near infrared.
Okay.
So we treat everything from skin to joint.
Okay.
The whole
So skin to bone.
whole way through, skin
All the
to
way
bone,
through. All right.
skin to bone. And another great story. I mean, and Jamie told me this, and it's pure coincidence that it came from her because it could have come from anyone. I was talking to her about maybe 3-4 months ago, and I was asking how things were going and so forth. And she said, oh, really well. And I said, so are people re-signing up? Because these are typically used 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay.
So we don't sell them in the retail level on a per treatment basis unless you're trying to rip the person off.
I got you.
Yeah, we sell it on a monthly basis. And she said, well, it's funny. She said, a lot of people, they do it, they've upgraded, et cetera. And she said, I did have one interesting experience lately. And I said, what's that? She said, well, a woman came in, and I was really trying to promote the Spectrum 7 red light system. And I suggested to her that she do it. And she was like, I just don't know that I want to commit. And she said, well, how about if you do a week? We have a week package.
Yeah.
She said, I could do a week.
Okay.
And she said, because I've got this problem. I had shoulder surgery. And I've done all my PT and I'm done with the doctors, but I can't lift my shoulder any higher than here.
Oh, no.
So she paid her for the week, went in, did a single treatment, and these are only 10-minute treatments.
Yeah.
Came out, and Jamie looked at her and said, how did it go? And she said, well, you tell me. And she lifted her hand up over her head and waved. So oddly, I hear these stories all the time from consumers. So we're excited because we're bringing to the market a product which is more powerful, faster, better results, and from a business owner's perspective, it's half the cost of some of the other systems on the market today.
I got you.
So we try to price it fairly so that small business owners can afford it. We also deal with national chains and franchises and people that have 20, 30 stores.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, you said there's 4. It was 3 infrared.
Yes.
Correct? And then 4
Red.
red. Okay. Which one does which?
Great question. So the red is 605, 630, 660, and 670 nanometer. Think of those as roadways. Okay. So it's a 4-lane highway. You've got a 605 lane, a 630, a 670, and a 660 and a 670. Each of those lanes are going to provide a different interaction with the body, right? 605 is primarily going to treat skin, acne, fine lines, and so forth. As you move up into the higher numbers, you start penetrating deeper into the skin. That's where you start increasing blood flow.
Okay.
And it's the increase of blood flow that has a significant impact on the pain management and the pain relief.
Yeah.
Then when you get into the NIR, the near infrared, which I believe is 805, 870, and 940, if I'm correct, each of those are now helping the red light basically squeeze and release the cell. Because what red light therapy does is we have in our bodies trillions of a item called mitochondria, okay? And inside the mitochondria is where we store ATP, and I cannot pronounce the word. It's very, very long. Look it up, ATP.
I remember that from, what was it, high school chemistry?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just called ATP. Yeah.
So ATP is our body's source of energy, okay? So when you get older, and I'm old, and you begin to age, especially after 38 years old, you'll hear people say, I'm drying up from the inside out. It's exactly right. Your ligaments, sure, because your ligaments are not as elastic, right?
Yeah.
Your muscle tone is less, your atrophy accelerates. All of this is a result of your body not producing ATP.
Gotcha.
So when we use red light therapy, what we're doing is we're increasing the blood flow and we're producing in that cellular level, at that cellular level, we're reproducing new cell oxidation. So we're taking cells that are drying up and dying and we're reoxidizing them and regenerating them. And we're very lucky. Okay, the only reason we're sitting here today, the only reason, is because when we looked at the marketplace, we saw a couple of very interesting things. We saw medical grade equipment. We saw it selling, and again, I hope I'm not speaking out of school here to the general public, but these systems were $60,000 to $120,000 for one machine.
Okay.
And a lot of them, all of them, look like old tanning beds.
Yeah.
Equipment that we wouldn't even run in my stores today, right?
Like the typical layout.
Yeah, like but old style, not even new stuff. And we saw these crazy prices. And then we started looking at what they were using for to deliver the LED, to deliver the red light. You use something called an LED. And we looked at that, and one company in particular, the most expensive, they had 45,000 LEDs.
Oh, God.
And I said, oh, my goodness. And they said, oh, yes, 45,000. I said, so what's the wattage? And he didn't want to answer. And I said, well, explain to me the wattage. And he didn't want to answer. And finally, I got out of him that each diode was 1/10 of 1 watt.
Okay.
So the entire system only produced about 4,000 watts of power.
Gotcha.
Ours produces almost 15,000 watts of power.
A lot more, right? Yeah.
But they couldn't do that because of the heat. When you put that kind of heat into a tanning bed, you'd have components melting.
Gotcha.
You couldn't do it.
Okay, yeah.
So our unique vertical design is not meant because we want you to stand up and use red light.
Yeah.
Frankly, we prefer you lie down.
I gotcha.
But in order to deliver the level of efficacy and the treatment impact that we deliver, it comes with heat.
I gotcha.
And that's why we use the vertical system.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So would this be here? Oh, a perfect example here. So I tore my tricep about a week ago. So
that's not
you
good.
see all that right
dear
there?
mother of goodness, you sure did. Okay.
Yeah. Thankfully, it looks worse than it is right
Okay.
now. So
Wow.
this is all the blood pooling in
Yes,
my arm.
it
So
is.
you can see that right there.
Yep.
It was pretty bad about a week ago.
Yep.
But, so would this be an example of something it could help with?
Unbelievable.
Yeah?
You would have relief, and you'd have expedited improvement in terms of the healing process.
Okay.
It's going to dramatically. So, some of the studies that have been done, there's been over since 2010. There's been over 600 medical double-blind studies.
Okay.
Where they used half real, half placebo.
Yeah.
Right. And many of these have been done with collegiate sports teams, professional sports teams, and professional athletes, kickboxers, and so forth. And what they all showed was that when you're dealing with any type of inflammation of the ligament, strain of a muscle, or exertion, right? So most people don't know this, but you know this. When you're bodybuilding, okay? When I was a young man, I was big.
I got you.
Okay.
There you go.
So I had a 17-inch neck and
Yeah.
I benched as much as 350. And
There you go.
I was
Woo.
big. So what you do when you're lifting weights and you're trying to build muscle mass is you make these small little tears in the muscle, right? And through the repetition process, you increase your blood flow. And that blood flow then rebuilds the muscle, and 24 to 48 hours later, depending upon your age, it's tighter and stronger, and you have more definition, right? Okay. So all of these studies showed a 30% increase in the athlete's ability to do repetitions during their workout, 35% faster recovery from their workout,
all right,
and about a 40% increase in any type of tear or ligament damage in recovery.
Yeah.
And these were just medical studies that you can find in the National Institute of Health. Go Google red light therapy medical studies, and there are dozens and dozens and dozens.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to
really cool.
I'm gonna have to call up Jamie and tell her I'm coming over and see.
Yeah, I hate to see that happen here. I mean, that's a big time. That's a big time injury.
Kind of like what you said. I used to be very into bodybuilding. And, and about a month ago, I decided, you know what? I'm 42 years old. I said, I'm gonna give it one more shot. I can do this, and everything was going well. But it was an exercise I've done 100 times with weight I've done 100 times. It was no big thing, and it just literally just popped, and I went and I dropped the weight. I was like, I'm out of here.
That's painful, man. That's
but thankfully,
painful.
it didn't tear from the bone, so I don't need surgery.
Right.
So I still have movement.
I was curious because when you said that and you moved your arm, I thought, well,
that's why I was saying it looks way worse than it feels.
Sure.
Oh no, about 3-4 days right off the bat. Oh, that sucked really bad. but we're got in the healing phase now, thankfully.
Oh, that's great.
But
the red light will dramatically impact the speed to which that repairs.
Yeah.
Dramatically.
Hey, that's fine with me because I still am limited on certain movements. I can't go too high, but well, that's awesome. Okay. Now, maybe I'm going off on a different direction. I'm just curious. Is there, because I've only heard of this, like everybody knows the red light. Is there any, are you going to dabble in like isn't there like blue and green and stuff like that? What is that?
So there is. So there's basically the reason why we at our company, Sun Capsule, were able to start the business is because we know a lot about the interaction at the cellular level with UV light. Okay.
Gotcha.
When you go in to a tanning salon, or if you're tanning outdoors and using a sunscreen, as you all should do, you're going to have a interaction where the light is going to hit the surface of your skin and a little bit deeper. Okay, a little bit deeper. The UVA will go a little bit deeper. The UVB is going to stay on the surface. So when you introduce light into the skin, you basically manipulate that melanin cell.
Gotcha.
No different than red light does to a fat cell or red light does to a collagen cell. So when you interact and manipulate that cell, you get a little hole in the side of it, and what comes out is melanin. And it raises to the surface, and we call it a tan.
I gotcha. Okay.
So it's very, very much the same thing with red light, is that we're regenerating cell production.
Gotcha.
In the skin, or in the body rather, below the surface of the skin.
Gotcha.
And this is going to treat as you said, to the bone.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where the near infrared comes in. The great thing is that there's been so many studies about this for the last dozen years that the FDA, about 5, 6, 7 years ago, exempted red light therapy equipment
Okay.
from requiring certain testing, I guess is the best way to describe it. When you're a Class 2 medical device, which tanning equipment is, you have to do something that's called a 510K, which is nothing more than just showing the federal government all of your test data and determining that, yes, that machine is a 20-minute bed, that machine is a 10-minute bed, and so forth.
Gotcha.
Red light therapy is so innocuous, so safe, you can't overdose on it.
Okay.
Right? You can't overuse it.
Yeah.
That after many, many years, in 2017, they said, exempt it.
Okay.
You don't need to do the additional study.
So you're saying that you can't, like overdose on it. So you can't burn on it if you stay in too long?
So the hardest thing for me, quite honestly, the most frustrating thing for me in my daily routine is we, for the most part, because we're from the tanning industry, we have relationships throughout the industry. We started marketing to those relationships.
Yeah.
And what's frustrating is that the thing that our system does the best has nothing to do with tanning.
Okay.
Now, I tell people this every day.
Yeah.
Anywhere I go in the country that we have systems, I will guarantee you. I had one customer call me up and say, we make them without attached dressing rooms, so they go into a room by themselves, and we make them with an attached dressing room, so they could be freestanding in a fitness club, and you could go in and go back to your workout. So we're doing both ways.
Very cool.
So we put one into a location, a tanning salon, and we had the added dressing room. And they said, well, there's no mirror. I said, mirror? Yeah, there's no mirror. What are you going to look at? This is not a tanning device, okay? There's nothing to look at. So I guarantee you, everywhere in the country, we have our system in a tanning salon. People come out and do the first thing they do is they look in the mirror.
Yeah, I got you. I got. Now, is this something like I've been over there before talking with Jamie, and people come in and they're getting their tanning and stuff, and a lot of them have done the Spectrum 7 as a complement to the tanning. So is it a complement to tanning? Like, does it give you a better result?
So the good news, bad news. So the bad news is that if you try to use simultaneously red light and UV light, you're basically having two wavelengths in the same 10 minutes or 12 minutes that you're in that machine. One is a tricycle. One is a Harley Davidson.
Okay.
Okay. You're both going to go 60 yards.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a whole different experience of how quickly you get there.
I gotcha.
So using our system before you tan is phenomenal.
Okay.
Because what it's doing is it's prepping your body because of that blood flow, right? And it's enhancing the tanning experience.
Okay.
So almost always, when you use red light, if you use it before tanning, you're going to improve the results probably by about 20%.
Okay.
If you use it after, won't really have much of an impact on your UV experience. A lot of companies in my industry, manufacturers, the single most popular selling commercial tanning bed in the United States is a hybrid of UV light and red light.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that's, to me, it makes no sense because they can't keep up with one another.
I gotcha.
So it's like if I go into this bed for 10 minutes to get the UV, beautiful, it's got red light, I got to stay 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of red light in there to begin with, and it's going in a different wavelength.
Yeah.
So the way to understand this in a simple fashion is this. When you look at light, you're looking at a rainbow. So you have invisible and visible light.
Gotcha.
And when you're at the UV level of the spectrum, you're in that 200 nanometer range. It's a very thick, harsh, dense ray. As you get all the way up to the 670 nanometer of red light, extremely narrow, not dense at all, deep penetrating, then you move from there into near infrared, and that's when you get into your invisible light.
I got you. Okay. Is there anything past infrared?
There is. Well, there's near infrared and then infrared.
Infrared. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the colors.
Well, the difference with infrared, and again, to be clear, I'm not a medical guy,
Yeah.
and you don't want to see my test scores from biology and physiology.
Right.
I can assure you of that. But basically, infrared is absorbed, and it's measured in microns.
Okay.
So we stop in this industry at near infrared. We don't go into infrared. Infrared starts normally at about 12 to 1300 nanometers. We end at 940.
I gotcha.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess if you go way above that, you're probably looking at like X-rays and stuff. Is that about
That's
right?
exactly
Okay,
right.
yeah,
So
okay.
you start going into the crazy world.
Yeah.
You know, you've left red light therapy
red light
altogether,
therapy
and you've moved into a
body
whole
scan,
different
like-
experience. Yeah.
That's funny. So to use I love your car analogies. So if you use this first before tanning, it's like an octane booster.
Exactly.
So, all right,
That's exactly
cool.
right.
Very cool.
Exactly right. In fact, it's funny. Years ago, probably in the late 1990s, early 2000s, there was still a lot of old tanning equipment in the marketplace nationally as the industry was growing, and they were 30-minute beds.
Okay.
And if you had all 30-minute beds, it was very expensive to re-outfit all the equipment. So one product that came to market was a lotion called Tingle. It was a Tingle product, and you'd put it on your skin, and it would stimulate your blood vessels, and get you all hot, and everyone thought you got a better tan that way. You just got really red, right? And it was horrible on your skin. It was a horrible experience.
You know, it's funny. Takes me back, but in the 90s is probably when I really started taking working out seriously. And I used to tan quite a bit and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember those 20, 30-minute beds.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I fell asleep in one that had the bulbs that were not quite.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I was that guy that woke up. Thankfully, it was just on my back, but I had the stripes going.
Oh, my goodness. No, I hate to hear those stories. Tanning industry doesn't do that anymore.
No.
Much more sophisticated. Much more sophisticated.
But that was way back in the 90s. But so thankfully, all I had to do was just put a shirt on. That was fine. But
That's so funny.
Yep. So that's funny. So, but so with the Spectrum 7, actually, I'm going to take it back a little bit.
Sure.
Usually we would jump right into it. First off, thank you. I love that. You're full of all kinds of knowledge, but we didn't talk about you much. So we get to know the people behind these things.
Okay.
So as far as Wayne's concerned, so you're from up north, right? Originally? Okay.
I'm from Boston. I grew up in Cape Cod.
Okay.
So I have a lot of sand between my toes.
I gotcha.
And like all Cape Codders in the mid-1970s, early 1970s, you either got off of Cape Cod and got an education, or you worked for your family's, business and restaurant, and that was
The restaurant, yep.
Yeah,
I
there was
gotcha.
very few street lights and very few people in the winter, and it was not a great. It was great to grow up there. I loved growing up there, but when you got to be older, it was not a lot to do.
Yeah.
Let's be a waiter, a waitress, bartender.
I gotcha.
Wasn't a lot to do. So
Yeah, that's what I did in college. I remember that.
so I moved to Boston and didn't do particularly well in college. In 1980, I went on spring break in Fort Lauderdale and never went back to school.
Okay.
So, and while I was there, I crafted a business model for a new tanning lotion because I was very entrepreneurial. And a few years later, and believe it or not, 1984, so 40 years ago, just a few weeks ago, I opened my first tanning salon.
No way.
Yeah.
So you've been tanning all this time.
Yeah.
Wow.
long
So
time.
well, you said you crafted a tanning lotion. So what was the light bulb moment where you're like, oh wow?
Well, I had to eat.
Well,
I needed money. And
Food, yeah, it's a good motivator.
and back then, at that time, there were places on Cape Cod that were very similar to Fort Lauderdale and Daytona at that time, where college kids would come in the summertime. They'd work.
Mm-hmm.
There were these bars that were owned by guys that owned bars and gals in Daytona and Fort Lauderdale. And back then, that's where everybody went. There was no San Padre. You didn't go to the Caribbean and so forth. And so we were thinking, we've got this same dynamic all summer. And we could get girls going up and down the beach, right? And we called it Nantucket something. I don't remember what it was. We didn't get it off the ground, so but at least it kept my parents off my back because I had them motivated that I was going to do something.
Hey, that's
since
right.
since I stopped going to college.
That's right. Hey, Wayne's doing something. We got this.
Yeah.
So you didn't go back at all. You
No.
just stayed.
No. Just stayed, and I thought, it doesn't get better than this. This is just great. So,
That's funny.
Yeah, eventually I did go back to Boston, and but I worked for so long in hospitality growing up and in restaurants and in restaurant management that I thought I'd end up like at a Marriott. Or something like that, and go into their program. But they required a degree at that time, and I didn't have that. So,
well, it sounds like you're doing all right with these spectrum settings.
It is. I mean, it's the great thing. It's funny. Both of my business partners, both of them, Michael started working in his mother's salon when he was 14 years old.
Okay, cool.
And Tim McQuay probably opened his first tanning salon maybe 5 years after me, right? So we've been doing this a long, long, long time. Mm-hmm. And I think what makes us particularly valuable to our customers, the business owners, be it a fitness club or a national tanning chain or a regional wellness center, is that ultimately we understand investing capital and generating return on that investment. Yeah. And we very much understand firsthand in any retail setting, you can sell it to the customer once, even twice. If you're sharp, maybe 3 times. But then you don't get repeats and referral. And in the service business, you don't have repeat and referral, that's going to be a not great restaurant after about 6 months, right? Yeah. I mean, you need repeat and referral business in any business. Doesn't matter if it's a fitness club or a wellness center or a Pilates, location. And it's so funny because I go to a really nice national fitness club chain up in Boston, and they've kind of dabbled in this wellness area, and you just see stuff sitting there not being used. So it sounded good on paper, but people aren't really using it all that much.
I gotcha.
So what we did at Excel and Sun Capsule was we said, you know what? Let's not even try to sell our product. Let's go as far as we can go, 9 months, 10 months, a year even. And let's just word of mouth. We'll do some things with business people that we know in the industry. And the reason why we did that was because we're old. And we're mature and smart enough to know, because we were all young entrepreneurs and we all had a lot of failures along the way.
I got you,
right? We all knew if the customer keeps going back and they use it over and over again, we have something here, right? And I am proud to tell you, and very proud to tell you, that the system Michael created, that we've all worked together to matriculate and develop to what it is today, is used consistently by every location we have around the country. I put one into a salon that I used to be a part owner of outside of Boston about 5 weeks ago. And I stopped in the other day because that's where I tan. And the owner was in changing lamps. So I poked my head in to say hello. And he said, "Oh, actually, I was going to call you." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Let me ask you a question. How long would it take if I need a second one?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Wayne, this thing's being used all the time." I said, "Take appointments. Before you invest in a second machine, take appointments. Then we can talk." But we have places, we have 2 locations that we sold to very early on, one of our earliest locations, probably just about a year ago, in Las Vegas. They have 2 locations. They've moved to wellness. They've got cryo. They do other wellness applications. They're going to be doing pretty close to 2,000 hours on their machines. That's 12,000 treatments in a year per device.
Jeez Louise.
That's 35 people a day.
A day?
All day long, 7 days a week. And what I love is all the locations that we've spoken to around the country where we have it, is it didn't do the peaks and valleys. Right? So what happens is, let's say you've got a hair salon, all right? And you bring in a new, skincare face regimen thing, right? And you go in and you sit in the chair and they put music on and you put it on. And what always happens in small businesses and mid-sized businesses is the same thing. And I guarantee you the national chain, the fitness chain that I'm referencing where I work out, did the same thing. They put in the big, expensive, these massage chairs that do all this stuff, and they market the daylights out of them, and it goes like this, and then it dips down. And then 4 or 5 months go by, and they look at the numbers, they go, let's run a special. And the numbers go up again, and then they go back down. And eventually they just become what I call plants. It's just sitting in the corner, been there a while.
Yep.
I don't really notice it anymore, right? So I wanted to know, because I'm a tanning guy, are you going to come back week after week, month after month? And I can tell you right now, every location we've done it, people don't like it, they love it.
Yeah.
And one customer said to me recently, a business owner, said, I had one woman tell me the other day that she doesn't know exactly what it does, but she knows that when she doesn't do it, she doesn't feel as good.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And that's because people, and people have heard this and they read about it, but it is true. When you tan, there's a dopamine release.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? There's a biological interaction there. So the whole tanaholic thing, that's legit. Right?
Gotcha.
I mean, there are people, and I've seen them in my lifetime. I was one of them in my late 20s.
Okay.
When I went to the gym, I wasn't big enough, right? In the mirror.
get that.
When I looked in the tan, I wasn't dark enough, right? Both things were wrong. I was plenty big enough, and I was plenty dark enough, right? Yeah. But what happens is you get that release, and that's what gets you coming back. With red light therapy, if it's combined with near infrared light, such as we do, you get that euphoria, that feeling of exhilaration. Why? Because your body thinks you just got off a treadmill. So think about being on a treadmill and getting off and having that great energy feeling without the exhaustion. That's the equivalency of what you get when you use the Spectrum 7.
All right. Is there, when it comes to this, is it just across the board recommended for everybody, or is it
only people that we always say stay away from are, number one, pregnant women.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Simply because you're heating up the body, and you shouldn't be doing that. Now, don't get me wrong. If that woman's doctor says it's okay, and if she's in Miami in August and she's pregnant at the beach, well, she's heating up, but that's something we stay away from. Heart patients, typically valve situations, and then people that have circulatory issues. Because again, we're moving that blood very rapidly, and if you've got some plumbing that's clogged, that can be uncomfortable and probably not a great idea. Other than that, the only other item that we recommend being aware of is photosensitive drugs, just simply because of the warmth and the heat. And when you're on a photosensitive drug, you're getting this enhanced interaction with any light. But that's it. That's it. Other than that, you can use it. People have asked about our treatment time, which is 10 minutes. Can you use it 20? Yes, you can. Can you use it 30? Yes, you can. How often? 3 to 4 days a week. Can I use it every day? Yes, you can. What you have to remember is that this is basically photosynthesis, right? If my machine was a plant, if your body was a plant rather, and the plant needed sunlight, oxygen, and moisture to grow, it also needs what's called oxidation time, needs rest. It doesn't. You don't water it, light it, and there comes a leaf. Water it, light it, there comes a leaf. It takes a little bit of time. So when you're working with anything at the cellular level, you want to oxidize it, rest it, oxidize it, rest it, oxidize it, rest it. And that's basically what you do. I'll give you an example. When you're bodybuilding, right? And, I'm sure people have seen over the years bodybuilding competitions, and they'll see these massive guys and gals repping out with these light weights, right? Because what they're doing is they're firming up, right? They're cutting. They want the muscle to be as defined as it can possibly be, right? So it's very similar. You need that oxidation time. You need that ability for the rest. So normally, I would say to anybody, more than 4 days a week, knock yourself out, but you're not going to see 30% more faster, better results.
Gotcha. Well, at least here in Murfreesboro, Shout out to them, Sunrayz.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
they're the ones that have this, right?
And Sunrayz, the owner, Jamie's dad, Jim Todd, I've done a couple of machines with him over the years.
Yeah.
Just one of the best people you'd ever want to do business with.
All right.
One of these great guys that just does what he says what he does. He totally gets it. He's just a man of great character, and he was one of my earliest customers.
Yeah.
And talk about a leap of faith. He said, I told my family, because they've got multiple stores and family members involved, that if Sun Capsule's behind it, it's going to be legit. And that was nice to hear from him. It was very nice to hear, and I'm glad that it's worked out. But they're the best.
Yeah,
they're the best.
Nice. All right. Well, if anybody listening or watching out there wants more information about it, or they have their own salon, they want to look into this, where can they find you? How can they get in contact?
Suncapsule.com is the domain, and like I say, it's a product that we're very proud of. I'll tell you one last quick story, because we haven't spoken about skin rejuvenation a lot, which people think of in the tanning industry. When they hear red light, they think collagen production, reduce fine lines and wrinkles, and so forth. Yeah. Well, I did something which, again, classic, not being a good salesman. I called our first customer, fitness chain in Boston that I mentioned earlier, called one of the managers of one of the locations, and had a question for him that was being asked of me by another national chain. And I said, so I haven't spoken to you in about a year. How's it going? He said, oh, terrific. Yeah. I said, are people still using? He says, hasn't dropped off at all. We have weights on that machine all the time. Whenever the gym is busy, people are waiting to get in. And I said, well, that's great. I said, that's really excellent. That's fantastic. I said, we have to come over there and actually interview you and get some stories. He said, well, I'll give you a story. He said, you may remember when you met all the managers and you were doing training, you might remember that I had a scar on my face. And I said, well, truthfully, no, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I said, but okay. He said, well, I was a collegiate soccer player, and when I still played, they still had metal cleats.
Oh.
And I got cleated in the face, and I had this nasty scar.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. He said, well, when you come over, you'll be interested to see that my scar is gone.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Gone.
Yeah.
He said, I've been using the Excel machine consistently since you put it in.
Yeah.
And not only is the scar gone, but the skin that replaced it is so smooth. And I said, it's new skin, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things about red light therapy. And when you do talk about skin, it's one of the best uses, other than treating muscle, ligament, tendon, inflammation, pain, and mobility, scar tissue.
Yeah.
So, burn centers have been using red light for many, many years to help with regenerating new skin cells. Yeah. So it's terrific. But and thank you. This has been a great time.
Is that how you stay so young looking over there?
I'm old, man. I mean, I am old. I'm going to be.
Well, you show it very well. How's that?
Yeah. Well, it's a funny thing. It's I'm very lucky, because the things that I loved doing at 28 and 38 and 48, I still love doing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so when you don't stop,
yeah,
I find you don't get old.
Right? Yeah, it's keep moving. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah,
so,
it's just keep moving.
Oh, yeah,
just
I'll be working out, and I think we joked about skiing. That's right. We're skiing. That's right. I'm skiing
that's right.
Until I break my legs or something. I can't do it anymore or something.
I know. It's bad.
But awesome. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate your time coming on.
Thank you.
This is really cool that you came out here for this. Thank you. And educated us on this. So we'll have to, I'm going to call up Jamie when we're done and be, hey.
I mean, honest to goodness, talk about coincidence. But
I know, right?
You will really get relief from that. Legit.
No, I'm
legit.
I'm all about that. So.
Yeah,
cool.
definitely.
And it's suncapsule.com.
Suncapsule.com. Excel Red Light Therapy.
All right,
Thank
cool.
You,
and I'll put that in the description of the video when we're done, so
awesome.
People can click through it. But
thank you.
But for those watching and listening, you know the drill. If you got any questions or comments on anything, put them down below. We'll get to them as soon as we can. And other than that, thank you again, Wayne.
Thank you,
Appreciate
buddy.
it. This was great. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right.
All right, thanks.
We'll see you all in the next one.
Ciao.